How you doing, people? Robert here, aka Robess, Anti-Corruption Scotland. This is part 2 of the 12 presumptions of law. I've already did part 1, presumption 1 to 6. Now I'm going to do presumption 7 to 12. As I said in the previous video, I've used this document within the case file with other documents I've lodged in this case to challenge it as a man, right? And as I said in the previous video, 2 cases have been dropped, but this has been part of the case papers that I put in, right? So it can be used if you know what you're doing. You have to educate yourself and do it, right? It's not an easy task, people. You've got a fight in your hands every time you get into these Roman courts, administrative hearings, right? There are no courts of record, right? And that's a fact. Number 7, presumption. The presumption of the Court of Guardians is a presumption that, as you may be listed as a resident of a ward of the local government area and have listed on your passport the letter P, you are a pauper and therefore under the guardian powers of the government and its agents as a court of guardians. Unless the presumption is openly challenged and rebutted to demonstrate you are both general guardian and general executor of the matter trust before the court, the presumption stands and you are in default a pauper or a lunatic. Therefore, must obey the rules of the Clerk of Guardians or the Clerk of the Magistrates Court or Glasgow Sheriff Court or any other court, depending on the jurisdiction that you're in. Right, people? Let's be clear on that. Presumption 8. The presumption of the Court of Trustees as a members of the Private Bar Guild presume you accept the office of trustee as a public servant and a government employee just by attending a Roman court. As such, courts always for public trustees by the rules of the Guild and the Roman court system, unless the presumption is openly challenged to state you are merely visiting by invitation to clear up the matter and you are not a government employee or public trustee. In this instance, the presumption stands and it is assumed as one of the most significant reasons to claim jurisdiction simply because you attend. Presumption 9. The presumption of government acting as executor and beneficiary is that of for the matter in hand. The Private Bar Guild appoints a judge, magistrate in capacity as executor, while the procurator fiscal or procurator acts in capacity as beneficiary of the trust for the current matter. If the accused does not seek to assert their right as executor and beneficiary over their body, mind and soul, they are acting as executor de son tort or a false executor, challenging the rightful judge as the executor. Therefore, the judge magistrate assumes the role of the true executor and has the right to have you arrested, detained, fined or forced into psychiatric evaluation unless the presumption is merely and openly challenged to demonstrate you are both the true general guardian and the general executor of the matter, the trust before the court. Questioning and challenging whether the judge or a magistrate is seeking to act as executor de son tort, the presumption stands and you are by default a trustee, therefore must obey the rules of the executor, judge, magistrate, or you are a executor de son tort and a judge or magistrate of the Private Bar Guild may seek the assistance of bailiffs, sheriffs to assert their false claim against you. Presumption 10. The presumption of agent and agency is a presumption that under contract law you have expressed and granted authority to the judge and magistrate through the statement as such words as recognise, understand and comprehend, and therefore agree to be bound to a contract. Therefore, unless the presumptions of agent appointment are rebutted through the use of formal rejection such as I do not recognise you, to remove all implied and express appointment of the judge, procurator or clerk as agents, the presumption stands and you agree to be contractually bound to perform at the direction of the judge or magistrate. Presumption 11. Presumption of incompetence and the presumption that you are at least ignorant to the law, therefore incompetent to be present yourself and argue properly. Therefore, the judge, magistrate as executor has a right to have you arrested, detained, fined, forced into a psychiatric evaluation unless the presumption is openly challenged to the fact that you know your position as executor and beneficiary and actively rebut and reject to any contrary presumption, then it stands by time of pleading that you are incompetent, then the judge or magistrate can do what they need to do to keep you up or obedient. Presumption 12, guilt, is the presumption that is presumed to be a private business meeting of the Bar Guild. You are guilty whether you plead guilty or do not plead guilty. Therefore, unless you have either prepared an affidavit of truth and a motion to dismiss with extreme prejudice into the public record or call for a demeanour, then the presumption is you are guilty and the private bar guild can hold you until a bond is prepared to guarantee the amount the guild wants to profit from you. Now people, the last 3 points here. The first point is, people are saying you've read the 12 presumptions of law. How do you rebut them? So I'm going to tell you on the last presumption, the wording that I used, and this wording can be used for every individual presumption, okay people? But it's got to be for the presumption listed, okay? I, Robert Sproul, formally challenge the presumption of guilt as it is by definition a presumption and has no standing on merit in presentable or material fact. That's how you word this, people. That's how you challenge it. And you put that at the bottom of every paragraph, okay? Now, the next point, right, is that people will say he's calling himself Robert Sproul, okay? And I've told you that Robert Sproul, the all caps name and the capital F for Robert, capital S for Sproul is Crown copyright name, right? How do you define the difference between a Crown copyright name and Robert Sproul the man? It can't be done with words, and that's a fact. Plus the fact, your name is your property. You have a given name that was given by your creator, your mother and father, right? That's your property. Doesn't matter about the legal system, legal society. The man can call himself what the fuck he wants as long as he's not committing crimes like fraud, deception, etc, etc. Alright people? And that's a fact. The next point, it says, I formally challenge all presumptions of law as I have formally challenged all the 12 presumptions of law, then the presumption of law formally has no substance and material fact. I will recognise the rule of law when and only there is material evidence of that assumed rule of law has some material evidence of substance and presentable material fact. Until then, the search for the rule of law that has some credibility and material fact continues. It is done. That's you telling them that you're putting an end to this matter because they've not presented material fact. They can only deal with presumption or assumption, people, or probability. Fact is different. It means it's real, right? Theirs is just for the person, the illusion, a court, but it's not a court, right? Now people, please study this stuff, learn it, and pay attention. Now, if you type into your Google search bar the 12 presumptions of law, you will be able to find this document I've just read off you, right? It's not in Bluebird, right? And you can download it and print it off and keep it for your wee file, right? Learn it and listen what I've told you, right? It's important that this information gets out to the people because a lot of people, most people don't know about what's going on here, people. They don't know about these kind of things that's happening and what you can use and cannot use in court, right? I tell you how it is and what it is. And if it doesn't work, I'll be the first to tell you. I'll not hide it for you and say it might work, okay? Please, people, share this information far and wide. It's important it gets out to every man and woman across the 4 jurisdictions of the entity of the United Kingdom. Very important, people, right? I would like to thank the people again that's still subscribing to my TikTok, the people that's reposting the video and sharing the video, the people that watches the video. It's great to have that support. Thank you, people. Please take care and be safe. As I said again, please share the video far and wide. There's more valuable information coming out from myself that's going to waken you up, that people are not talking about in the proper context. Okay, people? Please, people, have faith in what I tell you and what I say, right? I'll not give you misinformation. And that's a fact from a living man, not a person, not an entity, not a thing, a living man. Thank you, people. Take care. Be safe. And I will speak again